Hey guys, welcome back to Spooky Tuesday, a weekly podcast where we're breaking down all of our favorite slashers, thrillers, monster movies, and black comedies on the new scariest day of the week. I'm Sydney Thompson.
I'm Monica Haidt.
And I'm Chelsea Duff. And this week we are bringing you back to our very special event, our Werewolf vs. Vampire seasonal depression event. It's almost over. We're going out with a bang. But our second to the last movie this week, I'm so excited for it. I had never seen it before, but people have been telling me for possibly decades now that I need to. So I'm really glad to finally be able to engage. It is the year 2000. The movie is Ginger Snaps, and the IMDb logline reads, two death-obsessed sisters, outcasts in their suburban neighborhood, must deal with the tragic consequences when one of them is bitten by a deadly werewolf.
I have been waiting my whole life to watch this movie. I feel like everything has led me to this. And maybe my main takeaway is that this should have led me to everything, but it is a cult classic. And it's very culty in that way. Like, did it even have a theatrical release?
I'm honestly not convinced based on IMDb trivia, but I think the answer is yes. I think.
It's not
Possibly.
rated. It's not rated on IMDb, so how did it have a theatrical release? I'm not sure. I didn't research
to
that
say?
type of thing for this.
It definitely had a theatrical release in England, at least, but it's a Canadian film, so it's like
What about
it's
Canada?
all
Too
over.
bad.
It was really popular in Australia, like whatever. They were doing their own thing.
I will Google it in a minute and
Yeah.
then we'll find out,
Report
but
back.
not this minute. But like, oh my God, like from moment one, this movie, I was like, yes, this is a Spooky Tuesday movie. This is a movie
Yeah.
that was created for Spooky Tuesday. And it feels so good. It feels so good to watch a Spooky Tuesday specific film like this. It's about time we had a werewolf movie for the girls.
Right?
We had a werewolf movie for girls last month, but I hear you.
Okay. You're right. I'm sorry. But that couldn't have happened without this, so that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, actually.
In the year
but-
2000, it was about time.
Okay, but girlies, when are we going to start doing death photography?
I know. I was like, it is so girly pop to get with your girlies and just do a spooky little photo shoot. That's very extremely morbid.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we should do that.
we should do that for our next photo shoot. We should just be dead. I
Just
think that
Chris
would
would
be
do-
bopping
I've always
around
wanted to do-
town.
I wanted to do like a slasher one, like each of us takes a turn being the killer, chasing the others.
Yeah.
Maybe. Could be fun.
Do one that's not specifically Scream branded, like our very first photo shoot. Good little
I
photo
would
ball.
chase after you guys with an axe. I mean, I think that could be fun.
Yeah.
Could be a good time.
I have 2 fake axes.
I
Oh,
want
in
to
my
use
house
the real
right
ones.
now.
It doesn't even bother me.
Yeah.
I don't trust you
To
to
die
not
by
trip,
your
and
hand, Chelsea, would be an honor.
Oh my god. Well,
that
it'd be
is
my
so
pleasure,
sweet
Sydney.
that you feel that way, and I don't feel that way, to be so clear, and I'm not entering into this suicide
I'll
pact
give
with
you
you
a head
guys.
start.
I'm actually already in a suicide pact. if
I
you don't
know.
So actually, it would be a double whammy.
Yeah. 2 for
Yeah.
1. I do love that they, as a girl
It's a
with a suicide
BOGO.
pact, I love that they have a suicide pact. I'm like, relatable.
Suicide pact representation, and that's so
It's
important.
so
don't
important,
you think?
actually.
Mhm.
Oh my God, yeah.
One of my first things watching this movie, I watched it once without taking any notes, and then I was like, God, I wish I had time to watch this movie a second time. So I watched it again at 1.8 speed, and I took notes that time. But the first time I went through and I just was like, okay, let me write down what I'm thinking. Like, here are all of my movie touch points, and one of them is the virgin suicides, purely just for all of the deaths in the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh my God, the virgin suicides for sure. I feel like this movie is like rife with clear references going in either direction.
Yeah.
Like, it is so crazy to me how so many films that we have covered on this podcast that we have specifically loved so much, well, not all of them because one's Cabin Fever, were so directly we're so directly inspired by this movie. It's crazy. It's like shot for shot sometime, like how directly it is paralleling this movie. It's crazy. And it makes sense because it's such a great film. I loved it. Spoiler alert for later. I loved it. um and so I can see why it inspired so many other like fucking heavy hitters in the Y2K early aughts era. It's yeah, Ginger Snaps. Maybe not everybody saw it. Oh my god. Stop. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm changing subjects, but it's related. I just had this
Okay.
thought. The entire time I was watching this movie, I was like, Ginger's voice. Ginger's voice. What is her voice? I don't understand. She's played by Katharine Isabelle. I've seen other stuff with her. It's not that. It was her look and her voice together. And then I did my research. I was like, this bitch reminds me of Chapel Roan. I was like, the way that she talks reminds me of Chapel Roan. The way that she looks obviously reminds me of Chapel Roan, but that's a product of her having blue eyes and red hair. But she's also cunty and a little like aggressive, and I love that about Chapel. Don't get me wrong, I'm a huge stan. But then that just made me have the thought that this movie is like your favorite horror movie's favorite horror movie.
Yeah, I mean, not to get ahead of us, but Jennifer's Body very clearly
Yes.
is
Jennifer's Body
holding
did
hands with
copy
Ginger
paste.
Snaps the
Yeah.
whole movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Diablo Cody was like, oh, let me like the cunty vernacular, like the like special language, you know what I mean? Literally the walking down the hallway scene is the exact same thing as when Jennifer walks down the hallway.
The
Jennifer
weird
Check.
relationship between two women.
Unhealthy,
Yes.
uneven, devoted relationship is what I have in my notes. Losing moral
Yes.
compass, eating makes you feel strong and good, monster girls, getting gay.
Monster Girl glow
Yes.
up, baby.
Monster Girl glow up. Yeah, it's so crazy. It's insane. I mean, it doesn't make me like Jennifer's Body any less, but it makes me not think of it as the independent thing that I thought it was before.
Counterpoint, Jennifer's Body is an informed text.
True. I don't think it's like a copying it or anything, and it's obviously doing its own thing with it, but there's so many similarities, so it's just very interesting. But that just made me love this movie because I already loved Jennifer's Body, so I was prepared to love this, which is wonderful. But yeah, I mean, also besides the fact that it has so many references back and forth, like we were saying, the clear references, which we'll get into more later, it also has so many actors from things that we love here on Spooky Tuesday, specifically the actors who played Jason and Sam. Jason is played by Jesse Moss, Sam is played by Chris Lemch, and both of those gentlemen are in Final Destination 3.
I
The
loved that.
best
I
Final
loved that in the IMDb
Destination.
trivia. my
It
my
is
favorite
the
entry.
Yeah, Jesse Moss, who plays Jason, also plays Jason in Final Destination 3. He's not in it very much, because he dies in the
That's Mary
in the opening
Elizabeth
scene.
Winstead's boyfriend. Yeah, in the
Yeah,
beginning.
he dies in the opening scene. So what are you gonna do?
Right from the jump.
Chris Lemch plays Ian McKinley in that movie. So he's the fucking goth guy with the black hair or like punk goth, whatever, and the eyeliner.
What are
who
they?
I
Icky
had.
and Pinky or something like that? Him and Alex Johnson.
He's
Oh,
forklift
I don't
certified.
remember. Yes, he's forklift certified. Yes, this whole movie, I was like, oh my God, this man looks so familiar. And again, his voice sounds so familiar. And I was like, the voice thing is not because he looks like James from Raiders of the Lost podcast, but he does look like James from Raiders of the Lost podcast. They have the same haircut. What are you gonna do? But yeah, when I realized that, I was like, oh, this movie just keeps getting better and better. My God, it's got all my homies in it. I feel blessed.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a good cast. Katharine Isabelle and Emily Perkins have done a pretty decent amount of horror stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Emily Perkins is Bev, like young Bev from my favorite version of It.
Ooh.
Yeah, like
That's
that's
who
where
she
you
is
know her
in
from.
it. Oh my God, yes. Thank you.
Hmm.
I saw that it said that she was in it, and I was like, it's not computing for me, but I'm seeing it now with her little braids. Oh
Hmm.
my God. What a
But what's
horror icon.
interesting is she's also the punk receptionist in Juno. So that's another Diablo Cody movie. I wonder if she cast
Yeah.
her because she's very clearly a fan of Ginger Snaps.
Obsessed with this. Yeah. Yeah, no, they've gone on to do a lot of cool horror things. Oh my God, also Jesse Moss. I was just looking at his IMDb, and unless it's already happened, in which case, Chelsea, you let me know right now. He's going to be in an episode of Yellow Jackets this season. I don't know if he was already in it, and I just didn't realize
I don't know. I
in
have
the
to look
first
at his
3 episodes.
IMDb.
But yeah, he's in one episode of Yellow Jackets this season,
That's
2025.
funny because Yellow Jackets
Okay.
is another one of my cultural touch points for this film.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Cannibalism, girls doing violence, Ginger beating up Trina is Shauna and Lottie or Shauna and Mari. Up to you. Either Shauna
Wow.
beatdown works.
Everybody
This
loves
is
a
one.
Shauna beatdown.
Who wouldn't? Joel, one episode. Oh, it already happened. It was episode 2 of season 3.
I was like, when I saw that, I was like, I feel like I did see him, but I couldn't recognize. Who
Oh,
was
he's
he?
Joel. That's one of the guys that Shauna and Jeff have their business dinner with. I'm a self-made real estate
No.
mogul.
Oh, those guys are such fuckers. That sucks. Anyway, I was hoping it'd be someone I liked. Nope, I hated those guys.
Anyway, fuck
He
that
did great
guy.
at
Anyway,
being a
fuck
hateable
that guy.
character. He slayed
I'm
it.
not saying that he was bad. I'm just saying I didn't like the character.
You wanted to root for him.
Yeah. I feel like this movie is like a holy text of horror, actually. The more I think about it, I'm getting a little like overwhelmed by the greatness here. Like it's just so influential. My God.
You want to know the one thing that is bad about this movie?
You
Sure.
say.
Uh, Bridget's wig.
Honestly, it didn't bother me. Didn't notice it was a wig until IMDb trivia told me, but I don't have the eye for wigs that you guys both seem to.
No, her
I'm a
hairline was
little bit
just
worried
so
about you
bad.
that you couldn't tell that that was a wig. I'm honestly,
It's not my
actually,
focus.
I'm thrilled because if one day I am wearing wigs, you'll never know, and you'll say your hair looks so
Well,
good.
I do know what your real hair looks like, so that is an advantage in
Well,
that scenario.
maybe I'll say I had a radical change in my life, and I
Yeah.
changed everything about me, and you'll be like, wow,
I'll be like, oh my god,
amazing.
well, your pink wavy bob looks incredible.
Oh my God, I love that you've
Yeah, I
just dyed your
do.
hair pink. Like
Oh
Chelsea.
well, I did dye my hair red today. This is my hairspray I used to be Scully like 5 years ago, so thought that was important to note. That's why you never throw shit away, bitches. Never throw anything away. Or if your friends come over to your house and they have something cool and they throw it away, take it out of the trash and use
And
it for
put it in
yourself.
your
I'm
box.
talking about Sydney and Alex leaving their sliced throat
Blood
choker necklaces
chokers.
at my house, and I wash them and I save them for a rainy day. It's gonna come in handy.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
you were saying that this movie is so influential. That's so true. I won't argue with you, but I would like to say it is also influenced. So like it really is
Totally.
also like Fright Night with the werewolf transformation. I totally thought was there. The Craft, obviously.
Yes.
Ginger Snaps is doing a lot of what The Craft did. So like when Jennifer's body does it later, it's not because they're copying Ginger Snaps, it's because they're now like participating in the tradition.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Heather's, I also
The
thought
fact.
was a big one. Like Bridget and Ginger are big JD and Veronica vibes in many ways, especially in the
Yeah.
bathroom scene. So
Totally. I also noted in my notes that the faculty is also in there too, like how drugs are central to defeating the beast. I thought that that was an interesting parallel as well. As far as things that were inspired by it. Another one that I noted was Cabin Fever, like I said earlier, but specifically that like nasty leg
That was
shaving
what I was
scene.
wondering if you were gonna mention.
Yeah, because it was so that, except he just took it. Eli Roth just took it to the nth degree. He's like, what if her skin comes like off even
And
more?
also she's crying and
Yeah, no, it's totally there. And then also another one that I thought was interesting, It Follows was definitely could be seen as being inspired by this
oh
because
yeah.
the werewolf lycanthropy or however the fuck you want to say it can be passed sexually. It can be a sexually transmitted disease, like whatever that shit is in It Follows.
I love that werewolfism is an STD in
Makes perfect
this
sense to me.
universe. And also the different ways that it affects men and women.
Yes! I thought that was so interesting. For girlies, it makes you hot until it doesn't. And for
Right?
boys, it's bad the whole time.
You kind of look like a leper a little bit, but I guess it's
Yeah.
mixing with testosterone. Testosterone ruins everything, I guess.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah, I
Okay,
wonder if
okay.
it was like an overdose.
I'm not a boy, so I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But could it be because for Ginger, her lycanthropy, werewolfism, I don't know.
Werewolfism.
Werewolfism, lycanthropy might be it. We don't know. Anyway, lycanthrope, whatever it is, she is paralleling her puberty experience, where as a woman when you hit puberty, obviously you can get bad skin as well, and I did, and many have, but also like your body changes, you're more like into sexual things, maybe you're thinking those thoughts, like your breasts
hormones are
grow, that sort of
activated.
thing, your hormones are activated, and we see that with Ginger. She's feeling herself in many ways, and in many ways she's not.
Got the
But
hormone monster in her.
yeah, with Jason, he does like display as having like acne and stuff like that. So maybe it could be sort of similarly a puberty thing for him as well too. But I don't know if when boys go through puberty, their penis starts bleeding. I don't know about that. I can't speak to that as a woman.
I think when she got her period the same day that she became a werewolf, and then she and her sister were talking about it, and she's like, it's not contagious. But she might have been wrong. I think she gave it to
The
Jason.
curse. The
I think
curse.
he got his period. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's so funny. He's gonna, I mean, he survives, so maybe he'll be a more evolved man from this after experiencing a
Let's
woman's
hope
pain,
so.
but I doubt it. Somehow I doubt it with him. But yeah, I think this movie has such a strong like opening segment. It says like so much so soon, and I think another parallel to It Follows is like the actual opening shot of this movie where it like shows all of what's the name of the town? Do you guys
Bailey
remember?
Downs.
Bailey Downs, hilarious. Shows that shot of all of the like samey roofs, grayscale, like giving you the idea that this is like a
brown.
yeah, giving you an idea this is like a dead end suburban town. There's not a lot of excitement happening there. And it sort of reminds me of, it's not the same thing, but I'm thinking about It Follows now. Oh, wait. No. No, it is It Follows. Is it It Follows or Teeth? Where the house has the,
Oh, that's Teeth.
that's
The
Teeth.
nuclear
It's Teeth.
reactor
The
thing in the
nuclear
background.
reactor plant. I think that there is a argument to be made for Teeth being inspired by this as well. It's not as direct, but there's some stuff more in the deleted scenes of this movie where Ginger's kills seem more revenge motivated, like protecting. They put a finer nose on it, like some of the people who die, like specifically the janitor, have been like maybe predatory. I'm using scare quotes you can't see. I don't know if that's true, but Ginger described him as predatory.
Yeah.
And so I know. We can get into that whole thing. But then also there's a whole scene in the deleted scenes with the guidance counselor, where they try to make it seem like he was being weird, and then she kills him. So there can be sort of like that view for it too, but they got rid of most of that in the final form of this film.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I
was
want to talk
interesting.
about
I'm
the
glad they got
janitor,
rid of
but I
it. It
feel
was
like
messy.
yeah, I want to talk about the janitor, but I think I'll save that for more when we're talking about Bridget and Ginger's relationship, because that's more relevant to their dynamic for me than like I have thoughts about his death in general, but
Ugh. Their relationship is so fun but so fucked up.
complicated.
Very
Sisters.
complicated.
It's so funny though because when they are getting the period talk from the school nurse, which by the way Slays loved all of the language that she used, like brown dark sludge or whatever to signify the end of your period. Thank you, Queen. Let's
Almost
So true,
really
spit
though.
up.
let's get
I
all the
almost spit
details.
up.
If schools are not going to be doing sex education anymore, let's put it in the movie Ginger Snaps and we'll just have them watch it
Yeah.
there. But I
Seriously.
loved that whole scene. And I loved that. I don't know. I forget what I was just saying. It's gone.
You love the sludge, the
I
brown
did love the
sludge.
sludge. It was something about that,
Oh,
I'm
their
sure.
relationship.
Oh, when she says their ages, she's like, "Oh, I'm almost 16 and she just turned 15." But the whole movie, whenever she's like protecting Bridget or genuinely protecting Bridget, sorry, the first one had square quotes. She's being like, "She's 15," as though she is not also 15. But they're just, they're very close in age and they have
And
no
Bridget
interest in
skipped a grade, so
socialize.
they're in the
Bridget skipped
same
a grade.
class.
Yeah, they're in the same
Mm-hmm.
classes. They have no interest in socializing with anybody else until Ginger starts getting horny and then starts to look for partners potentially. Because it's not like she could just fuck her own sister. Oh, wait, maybe. I mean, I don't know. But it's there's such an
Lord
insular
God.
little group. They're so just like enmeshed with each other to the point that Bridget is like, I want to kill myself. And Ginger's like, I guess I'll kill myself too because we're going to go out together. We're going to be together forever. And also, I don't really care that much to stay here. So, yeah, I'll kill myself too. We'll do a suicide pact.
Wait, wasn't it the other way around?
No, Bridget's the one that keeps being like, you don't care. You said you'd kill yourself because she's like, I said I'd die for you. And Bridget is like, you said you'd die with me because you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I remember that part, but from the beginning scene, from my read, Bridget is very trepidatious about the idea of actually going through with the deed, and she's like, I don't like the idea of someone like seeing my body. And Ginger's like, come on, we said that we would do this together. And I thought that like led into like their kind of like abusive relationship ish.
Yes, and I think that is complicated because they both seem to be talking about a real suicide pact conversation that they continue to reference. And also, I think in that specific conversation, they were talking about their Life in Bailey Downs photography project.
Okay. I loved that. I think that was so fucking funny that they're like, oh, let's show life in Bailey Downs, and it's just them killing themselves.
Life in Bailey Downs
dramatically.
makes me want to kill myself over and over and over and over and over and over
And
and
here's
over.
all the ways I could do it. Slay.
I love that. I love that that was like our intro to them as characters too. Cause like we get the intro with like I don't know where I mean Canada, I guess, maybe. Or I don't know if they're supposed to be in like Midwestern America, but we get their like suburban area, and then we get like the mom and the son in the backyard, discovering the dog foot. And that Baxter has gotten got by the beast of Bailey Downs. To set up like the stakes of what's going on in town. But then it's like them talking about suicide, cut to the montage of their pictures. Like it is just such an interesting way to set up who these teens are and the relationship they have to like the larger world around them. I thought it was so fun, and that they were able then to like pull that out and use that as cover later with Trina
Yes.
in the kitchen. Like,
Mhm.
I was so curious about the writing of this movie and in those two specific scenes. Like, did they like when they were coming up with the Trina scene and writing it, did they go, oh my God, we could use this thing that we've already set up from the beginning, it'll be perfect? Or like, did they I don't know. I want to know how they came up with that and how they put that together. I want to know their thought process there.
They
I'm so
have big,
curious.
beautiful brains.
I love
Who's the
that for
writer of
them.
this movie? Karen Walton and John Fawcett.
All of the dog deaths in this movie, especially right from the jump, were
I
like
know.
so alarming. I was
I
like
know.
not expecting that.
It
When
does
they find that
not
dog in the
pass
park
test.
and they're like, get the leg, and then the leg just pulls off.
When they're playing
Oh my
field
God.
hockey and she gets shoved into just a dog
Oh,
body.
nobody
how did
noticed
no one
that
notice?
before on the film.
How did they not
How
notice
did no one
that?
notice that? It's unbelievable. No, real quickly though, you're talking about the writer and the director. So John Fawcett and Karen Walton were actually boyfriend girlfriend at the time of
Ooh.
writing this. And they were living together in Canada. And it was definitely Karen writing it mostly, and John would just like throw in some ideas there here
Yeah,
and
it
there.
sounds like they did the ideating together and she wrote the whole screenplay. So it's like they did the story.
Totally. Yeah, and then he went on to direct it. But it was really interesting because there's actually like a lot of difficulties that they had trying to film this movie when they were, because the year that it went into production was the year of fucking Columbine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
same issues
so
as Scream 3.
yeah, they did not want a violent film taking place in a school happening. So like all the schools that they were going to possibly film at pulled out. And so they luckily found like a place that had a set that had like 3 hallways for a school, so they could use that. So that was good. And then they also like had trouble getting actors for it too. Like originally they shopped out the role of Bridget to Scarlett Johansson. But ScarJo was so young that her mommy was in charge at this point, and her mommy was like, "No, I don't want my daughter to be
Absolutely not.
involved in something like this."
Well,
In this climate, because there was like some crazy article that came out about this movie too that like dissuaded all these people from working with them.
the Emily, what's her last name?
Perkins.
Yeah. She was 22 filming
Yeah.
this. And Katharine Isabelle was actually 17. So it's kind of funny that like she was the younger of the actresses playing the older sister.
That's what happens when you've got
Yeah.
the bigger boobs.
So true,
No, it's
Basti.
cool too.
But it
'Cause
was interesting
apparently,
because
like-
one at the oh, go ahead. Unless you're
Oh,
gonna say
sorry.
what I'm
I
gonna
just
say.
real.
Who-
Oh,
what are you gonna say?
I just read this great Guardian article where Katharine Isabelle said that like she was just an angry teen when she played this
Mm.
role, and so she was bringing that to the table. She was like, "Oh, this really works for me because I'm super angry and I too am going through puberty, so that's wonderful." But then she luckily had Emily Perkins. That's what we just said, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Playing her younger sister but older in real life, who could like explain to her like how the film was tied to oppression, sexuality, feminism, and objectification, because she didn't really get it at the time because she was fucking 17 years old. And
Mhm.
so like Emily really explained the role to her and helped her understand how important it was, because I think this is actually a rather important movie.
Yeah, no, I have my clear references section, I have my regular notes section, I have my quote section, and then I have a section about unrealistic expectations for women in society.
Yeah.
So that was really the focus of the film for me. But in terms of casting, yeah, they had a tough time finding the girls. They asked several actresses, including Sarah Polley of Splice fame, to be in this movie, and she said no, and Natasha Lyonne said no. And then
Oh.
after a really
Natasha
long
Lyonne and this would have
search,
slayed.
it would have been a great ginger.
Mhm.
But after a long search, Emily Perkins and Katharine Isabelle auditioned on the same day, and Karen Walton, seeing their auditions, was just like, "Oh, well, that's them. Like they're giving exactly the way that I imagined them when I was writing this story. Like they're just, that's them right there. And
Well,
they had
that
like these
makes
really intersecting lives for like, again, they were a couple years older, but like they went to all the same schools growing up. They had the
yeah.
same agency.
They were born in the same hospital. They attended the same kindergarten
Isn't
and
that
went to the
crazy?
same high
That's
school. And
kind of
they had
wild.
done 3 or 4 other auditions together before finally getting the roles as sisters. So, yeah, it's really cool.
And then they
just
also played
fated.
sisters in another Cinderella story. They played the stepsisters. So
Oh.
I randomly
Wow.
saw a tweet that said that earlier today, and then I also saw it in the IMDb trivia when I was reading the IMDb trivia for this movie.
Yeah, man.
So I'll send you
I
that
just
tweet.
want I just want to dive into like the discography. We're going to say that. The discography for all of these other actors too that were in this, like specifically Katharine. Have you guys seen American Mary?
Mm-mm.
I've always been on like my list of horror movies to watch, and she is the titular Mary in that movie. So I really want to watch that as well. I thought maybe it was with the same. No, it's not the same writers as this movie. I just got confused. Um, I just love that they had that connection because they really do have amazing chemistry on screen as sisters. But like, I don't know. I read this one like it's not it's like a think piece from just a person, not necessarily from a publication, whatever.
Like a
Anyone can
blog.
have beautiful thoughts. It was a blog. Thank you. Could not think of that word. um and it was about like the queerness in this movie, which we will discuss ad nauseum, I am so sure. But they were talking about how like they felt like the movie wanted you to think that they weren't related because they didn't look related at all as well. And I was like, I don't know about that. I think there's also maybe had been an iteration where they weren't related in the script before, but that's obviously not their sisterhood is such a huge part of this.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, they don't look alike, and they have a stepdad, so you could like do that if you want
That's their
to. But
stepdad?
yeah, isn't he the stepdad?
Oh, I just
I
thought it was
thought
their dad.
But yeah, they
I
call
thought
him dad, but that doesn't mean he's not their stepdad.
I don't know why I think that, but I really thought that, and I thought that I heard it.
Maybe because the mom was just like, we'll leave him
I
behind. Who even cares?
Well,
was
sometimes
Who gives a shit about dad?
Who
Nobody
gives
cares. We're going
mean,
to counseling. He's not even pulling his weight. Let's get out of here.
he's just kind
Fuck
of
him.
there at the dining table, you know?
Well,
Being
every time he's trying to
judgmental.
Like,
say
no
something, the
words.
mom jumps in to be like, no, no, no. You can't teach her to drive, etc. So
Their relationship is going like really, really well, I think.
I think they're killing it.
I love the mom in this.
I love the mom.
I
love
love the mom in
So
this.
good. Her hair, those
Little
little
curly.
Like,
tendrils.
Everything about her is like her immediate desire to just like desperately connect with her daughters. She's like, oh my God,
Oh.
period cake. Like,
Oh my God. I've been waiting for this moment where you ask me about boys.
her like picking up the like bloody underwear and just like spraying it is like such a mom thing, and also
Yeah.
was improvised.
Icon. Okay. That was like one of the most relatable parts of this movie was when Ginger is so fucking like unearthly mortified by her mom making such a huge deal about her menarche, which is the term for a woman's first period. I've already told this story on the Carrie episode, but like when I told my mom that I got my period for the first time, we were driving the car and she went and like pulled us over to the side of the road and burst into hysterical tears. So I was like, yes, I feel this feeling of utter mortification. She was just excited and sad at the same time, but boy, was it scary.
My mom didn't talk to me at all, but my dad was really excited and then took me to Kroger and then asked all of the ladies what kind of pads and tampons that he should buy
What's
me.
your preferred period product?
And then he got me a red velvet cake.
was actually
So,
very
I love
similar to
that. I
this.
love
How did
that.
it make you feel?
honestly, I was so mortified, but looking back at
Cherished,
it, it was like
special,
so funny. And
celebrated.
my mom let me, she like, we didn't talk about it at all, but she did slide that like American Girl book.
Oh, the
Karen
Karen
Keeping of
keeping
You.
of you.
Yeah, she slid that under the door and then she let me not go to school for the rest of the week. And I was like, thanks, mom. Thanks, mommy.
She
Slay.
did it in her own special way.
Mhm.
Oh my
We do
god.
have one friend who like explicitly hid from her mom that she had started getting her period. And I was thinking of that while I was watching this movie, and she knows who she is if she's listening. But I think it's so interesting because the second I got my period, I went straight to my mom and I was like, "Hello," and just. I mean, clearly they're having a different experience of womanhood than their mother is in this movie. And their experience of being female, as they use once or twice, is so interesting. They so like reject it as a whole and as a premise until Ginger starts to embrace it. But it's so intertwined with like her becoming a woman and maturing into her womanhood is literally same day she becomes a werewolf. So it's like you can't really separate out the
No.
two. So if she's like embracing one, is she really embracing it or is she embracing the other? They're so intertwined. But I think it's so fascinating to me the way that they just like dialogue on these things with their mom and with each other in the movie. I love the mom and I love
I
everything that's
love
happening. When she's like, Ginger actually thinks it's really cool the way you give us space to figure things out. And she's like, oh my God, she does? Is it working? I didn't know if that was working, but I was like, like, I loved that. Like,
Killer.
I love that this mom who is so like girls, boys, periods, magazines, crushes is like, well, but I'm going to let them be their goth girl thing and take their suicide pictures. I don't love it. Not in the house girls, but I'll let them be who they are. It's so like, not what we see a lot of the time in movies such as this.
I just love also that she finds this body and she goes, we can blow up our house.
We're gonna get out of
That's
here and we
my
don't
ride
need
or
dad
die
to come with us.
queen.
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I would do that as a mom. I'd be like, let's go, bitches.
That
Round it
quote where
up.
she's like,
I feel
you're
like
my
my mom
tiny
would have done that for me.
babies.
Uh-huh.
I want to
I
find
could
that you've done a terrible thing, but you're my tiny babies. It's one thing if you leave, it's almost normal, but no one's gonna take you from me. First thing tomorrow,
Mama bear.
I'll let the house fill up with gas and I'll light a match. What? We'll start fresh, just us girls. It'll be fun. What about dad? Actually, I don't want to talk about that part yet. I'm not emotionally prepared to talk about the last half of that conversation. That's gonna be for my expectations of women area later.
Oh my god. Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about already having a bad enough time starting your period, but then you start your period and the blood of your menarch lures a werewolf out of the forest to
The
maul
Beast
you.
of Bailey
Like
Downs.
it's just a bad day. It's she already has cramps and now she's being
Yeah.
mauled. It's just not fair.
I mean, that is how
Granted,
cramps feel. So
that is how
Yeah.
crimes feel. He was already nearby the beast because they found that dog and the dog was still warm.
No, of course.
So
It wasn't
I
like he like
choose
heat-seeking
yeah.
missile found her.
But Bridget did bring that up with the bear later, so there's credence to that theory.
No, it's like sharks. I don't know if that's true. We need that shark scientist to come back and tell us things.
yeah,
We
yeah.
need a
We have
werewolf
questions.
scientist. Yeah, I think also the men in this story are interesting too. And I like what they did with them because almost for a second there, I was worried that they're gonna like have a boy savior thing happen. And they
Ugh.
did not. They did not, which also made me sad because I personally
Wanted
loved
somebody to be
Sam.
saved.
I just loved Sam a lot, so that's fine. But that's because of the Final Destination 3 thing. But
Sam is a
anyway,
problematic fave.
he's a problematic fave. He's not like other drug dealers. He's a compassionate drug dealer. I'm sure there's many compassionate drug dealers. Well, he's going out of his way to try to help Bridget not die, so I think that that's
Yeah.
nice. He doesn't necessarily need to be doing that.
And he doesn't even think of her in that way. So it's really just the goodness of his heart.
But he's also a quote unquote cherry hound.
Is Trina a reliable source? But also, she felt very authentic to me when she was like,
Yeah.
if you're smart, you won't give him the satisfaction. Someone shouldn't give him the satisfaction.
Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed that. Fuck. So he like only likes to fuck virgins?
He only likes virgins. Yeah, it's why he kind of hangs around all the he's clearly graduated, and so he's hanging out with like high school girls.
With his, what's his van called? I wanted to write it down in my notes, but I missed it the second time around. But it's like the green, it's like something about adding greenery. And then obviously he is growing marijuana and smoking it in his van. So I thought that was a funny little joke.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, okay, then all the men are bad in this, and that's kind of makes sense.
He's a problematic fave. It's totally fine.
I also think it is
to like
possible.
Bridget.
Yeah, I think it's possible that he popped Trina's cherry, but isn't a quote cherry hound generally speaking. She is just like, oh, if he doesn't want to be with me and he's going after Bridget now instead, it must be because he's only after virgins. Like, I think there's a read that is more generous to him. But also
I don't get a pervy vibe from her.
Complicated because she's like being very sexually aggressive towards him and like not taking no as an answer. But also he is like engaging at least in parts of it. So like, does he want to fuck her? Does he want to fuck Bridget? He doesn't want to fuck Bridget because he doesn't think of her that way. But like, is it because he has special love for her in his heart and that's why he doesn't want to fuck her until they're in love? Well, I don't know.
I think there's also a read for him he knows that Ginger is a fucking werewolf, so he might be like scared and going along with it for a second there too. And also in that moment I was like, does she kind of have her own like werewolf thrall thing going for her? Because she does have that like power of sexy awesomeness that she's wielding for honestly a pretty short period of time before it goes a little bit too far in the wolf direction.
Before she starts growing all kinds of extra nipples.
Yeah, that was wild.
That's why the substance is one of my other touch points.
Yeah, it's so good. I love that so much. I love the practical effects for this. I love that they're all practical and they're specifically inspired by when I saw the werewolf, when you actually saw it, I thought that reminds me of something. It reminds me of The Thing. Then I read this article. We were inspired by The Thing and The Fly. And I was like, nailed it, Monica. Good job.
Yeah.
I don't know why, because I haven't watched The Thing in a long time, but I think because it was like nude, like a nude, like just like skin, fleshy sort of werewolf. I thought it was very, I don't know, something. It reminded me of The Thing.
It reminded me of Evil Ed, like mid transformation, in Fright Night, when he's like kind of all juicy and gooey still as he's transforming.
That is such a horrific. Wow.
That transformation is so haunting. Yeah.
It's so haunting. That part is so good. Fuck. Damn. Thank you for reminding me of that. I haven't thought about Fright Night since we covered it. So
also, I thought about American Werewolf in London because after Sam hit the original Beast of Bailey Downs, or who knows if that was the original, maybe it was the second in the line, we can't say. But the first in the movie that we see, Beast of Bailey Downs, and then later he's like, he had a human circumcised penis. That is an American Werewolf in London reference because, as you may recall from our conversation on that one, they couldn't show his movie or his penis in the movie because the character would have been circumcised and the actor wasn't. So
yeah, I gotta say that talking about this now, I watched the movie twice, and I think that I have a language barrier for the cool kid vernacular that everyone was using in this. It's like Jennifer's Body, where they like are just saying things that they made up for the movie, and you're like, what does it mean? Okay, I'm catching on. Because there's a lot of stuff that was said that I was like, oh, he said something about a penis. I don't understand. That's what he was saying about the penis. I was like, I don't really.
He's like, it's not all beast because there's a human circumcised penis.
Yeah, I was a little lost in that moment, I guess. But that's good to know. Oh man, the teeth might come out soon because I keep biting my own tongue.
You're honestly a braver man than I for even attempting to wear them for this long at all, because I put them in for 1 second when we did Underworld, and I thought about it for today, and then I went, I don't want to do that.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I find them to be comfortable, but honestly, what happens is that I hear my lisp
Yeah.
after so long and I can't take it anymore. I'm like, if I hear my lisp one more time and now I'm saying lisp and it's just awful. So we have to
It's rough
move
out there.
on. Oh man.
No, but speaking
Okay.
of the slang, I did love in the beginning during the photography scene when she says, I can see your gaunch. I thought that was great. I was like, I need to file gaunch away.
Gaunch.
Gaunch is a good one. I liked that.
It's so good. I don't even know if I can get them off right now, so they might be staying
Just
on.
They
yoink
might
'em.
stay.
Mine are really tight. They like kind of crack every time I put them in, so I'm gonna be like this forever. Oh man. What else? What else? There's so many things. What do we think about Trina in general? That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
She
Trina is. No, you go. I was just gonna word association.
No, I just think that well, first things first, I love the little like joke or like whatever inside joke between Ginger and Bridget or Ginger and B when they're like Ginger's like seek and destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And so she
Mhm.
just like chooses a person and then just like goes for the fucking jugular. I think that is so toxic and wonderful. How
Yeah, I was just looking at that part. My quotes.
um but yeah, I don't know. I think Trina's character is like kind of I don't know, just trying to be the foil to like the type of women or not feminine women because they're so anti describing themselves in that way. Bridget and Ginger are. So he's just trying like the foil to whatever Bridget and Ginger are. Um, and yeah, I think this movie is trying to say like a lot about like feminism, what it is like to be a woman, and how agonizing and painful it is. But I do like that it doesn't like create this character that like is doesn't fall into any of the traps of womanhood. Like Ginger does fall into all of the like, being catty with other women thing, like women fighting against each other thing that we're socialized to do. Like she's a flawed woman, she's a monstrous woman, and it's not like she is the antithesis to all of these things. Like she fully becomes every part of womanhood and the extreme parts of it too. But I don't know if this is too like intense to say, but what did you guys feel about like her sexuality as she became this monstrous woman? Because I loved that she was like being a dom in the thing with Jason, but then it kind of felt like sexual assault both the times that she had
Yeah.
sex. Like if she was like being a rapist, and I didn't love that. But yeah, I don't know. What do you
Ginger,
guys think about
as a
that?
character, I think very clearly struggles with how to wield her power responsibly, both as a werewolf and as an older sister.
Totally.
I think that she is really prone to abusing her power in a lot of ways. I think
Yeah.
the sex scenes are so tricky because especially with Jason, the behavior that she's exhibiting is behavior that he would not have any problem exhibiting as long as he was the one doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of what she's doing is sort of like subverting that. And it kind of reminds me of the scene from Buffy, when she's like in the car with the frat guy and he like is trying to like use his strength to overpower her at one point, and then little does he know, but she is the vampire slayer, and so she actually is very easily able to overpower him. But
Mm-hmm.
when they're having that moment in the car where he's being like, just lie back and relax, and she's like, you lie back and relax,
Mhm.
It's really interesting to me that she is so regularly rejecting gender roles other than in the moments when she's like, if I have to be restricted by them, I at least can use it to my advantage. When she has that conversation with Bridget, like, nobody thinks chicks would do something like this. You're only
Yeah.
allowed to be a bitch or a tease or a slut or the virgin next door. Those are the only
Mhm.
options. Murderer, dog eater,
Yeah.
those are not among the list. But I
So
don't
they'll
know,
be
it's so
fine.
interesting. Yeah, because I think it absolutely does cross the line into assault. And I
Totally.
also think a
Because he's
lot of what
injured
she's doing,
afterwards.
a lot of what she's doing is explicitly like claiming power over these men that these men would claim over her if they could.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Yeah, I mean Ginger is such a complicated character because like I don't know. This is not accurate, but there's we've watched other movies like Teeth, for example, Teeth. All these men watch it. They're like, "This is the most horrific movie I've ever seen," and we're like, "Yeah, that was fun, revenge or whatever." Um, but like, obviously, it's not just that. It's much more complex than that. But in this movie, like, you can't watch Ginger just like be getting revenge, be like throwing her power onto people who would have thrust it upon her because she's also hurting the people that you love as a viewer and she's supposed to love as the sister because she's hurting Bridget so much in this movie. Like their power dynamics are super super fucked up. Like we touched on it already with the suicide pact. I didn't like that language at the beginning was confusing to me. I know they were talking about the project, but it really seemed like she was like pressuring her to like uphold this deal, whatever it might be between them. And then she's also always like pushing Bridget around physically. Like it's affectionate as well, but like Bridget is always the one being pushed. It's
And
not
it's
the
always
other
like,
way
you betrayed
around.
me because you didn't do things exactly the way that I told you to do, but I'm allowed to behave however I want.
Yeah. And like also there I watched a lot of the deleted scenes. I didn't get to all of them, but I was reading some articles and one referenced a deleted scene that like apparently referenced like Ginger trying to like isolate Bridget in the past too from friends, and she does that in the film as well. Yeah, you're gonna what were you gonna say, Chelsea?
That's my point with the janitor is like, she keeps coming in and being like, he's trying to look down your shirt, blah 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 blah. I'm not seeing that at all in the film. What I'm seeing, and maybe I'm just missing it, maybe I'm not paying enough attention, or maybe it was
No.
something that like didn't make the final cut as much. What I'm seeing is Ginger trying to isolate Bridget from someone who seems to be a kind and supportive adult that Bridget could possibly turn to, who does help her out in at least like two separate occasions.
Yeah,
And every single
I
time
totally
Ginger
agree with
just goes,
you.
I don't want you to have anybody other than me. And so I am going to paint this man as a pervert to you so that you will keep your distance. And when that doesn't work, I'm just going to eat him.
Totally. No, I agree with you 100% cuz I didn't see any evidence of that man doing anything wrong throughout the film. So that's definitely a good example. And then also her relationship with Sam, whatever it may be, like Ginger tries to stop that wherever she can or like she tries to be there so she's a part of it. So like Bridget can't have anything for herself, any space for herself. But then Ginger can do whatever the fuck she wants to do. And so she like I don't know, I read this great article, it's linked, but one of the things that it mentions is that a typical way that people abuse others in sort of codependent relationships like this one is like withholding affection, and that's what Ginger does for like the whole second half of the movie after whatever the fight was it when she locks her up? I think that is
Yeah, when
Yeah.
she
when she
locks her in
locks
the
her up to go
bathroom.
see Sam. Um, which like we know it's for in Ginger's best interest because she's
She's
out
making the
there losing
cure.
control and
She's
killing
hurting other
dogs
people, hurting
and hurting
herself,
other
and
people.
then she comes home and cries and is like, I don't want to be like this.
Yeah, and that's such a horrible moment because you're seeing her humanity again in that moment, and you're like, there's Ginger. but then she loses it so quickly because she's not herself. She's going through this insane change. And so then once she's pissed and once she's seen that she can't, in her mind, in Ginger's mind, she can't trust Bridget anymore because Ginger betrayed her, or sorry, Bridget betrayed her, blah, 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 blah. Ginger just fucking leaves her and hangs out with Jason all the time and just like won't give her the time of day at all. And that's a form of abuse too. Like it's a very sad, messed up situation, and then you add in that weird incest part, and I don't really know what to say about that. I don't really know what to say
I'm not ready to
about
talk
that.
about that yet, but I have more thoughts on their sisterhood and how it relates to like
Yeah.
their relationship to femininity in general and just expectations of women in our society. Because one of my first notes is from an early scene when they're playing field hockey and Trina has overheard them playing search and destroy, seek and destroy, whatever it was. And they realize that she overheard them and Ginger's like, I'll cover you. But then Ginger gets distracted from that job because these men, Jason and co, are sitting in the bleachers sexually harassing everybody, her specifically. And so it's like Ginger is a bad sister if she can't perfectly protect her sister while also enduring and ignoring and not reacting to harassment from men. But then she scolds Bridget when Bridget doesn't stand up for herself. And it's like Bridget has to be perfectly strong and stand up for herself against anyone, except, of course, for Ginger, who she needs to be perfectly subservient to. And then there's this thing with Sam where she's trying to isolate her from Sam by saying Sam doesn't see you as a person. He just sees you as something to fuck. But then she's also belittling Bridget directly herself. And they do this to Trina a little bit too by just reducing women to something that could be fucked by a man, or at least like that's how they perceive other people to see them. Men only see us as sexual objects, so you're only being a sexual object right now. And I'm like, reducing your personhood to that. It's so complicated that she does that all the time too, where she's like, she calls Bridget a sissy little girl. And in the beginning when she's posing with the knife and like contemplating what her pose is going to be for the picture, she says wrists are for girls.
Yeah, you gotta go through for the throat, right?
Yeah, there's all of these moments of rejecting womanhood or femininity or being a girl because of all of the restrictions that come with that. Instead of like pushing against the restrictions, they're pushing against the idea of like being a girl, and it comes with this weird internalized misogyny that hurts themselves, that hurts each other, that hurts other girls around them. The sexual aggression I think is so interesting too, because she's being rejected for being too sexually aggressive, but also she's expected to be sexually available. She just needs to lie back and relax and be an object and not an active participant. And then the mom stuff. The mom stuff is when it comes in, to go back to that conversation earlier, the quote that I didn't finish because it makes me sad. The mom is being like, don't worry, we'll just explode our house and the dead bodies inside of it and we'll run away and start fresh. No big deal. It'll be fun, just us girls. And they say, what about dad? And the mom says, he'll just blame me. They all will. And then Bridget says, this isn't your fault, mom. And then the mom says, yes, it is. And it's this thing of like, moms have to be perfect and take on the blame for everyone else's mistakes because they're the caregivers in the families. Dads can be less than present even, but God forbid anybody ever do anything wrong. They're going to look to the mom and go, how did the mom raise him? What did the mom do wrong that this person turned out this way? Like, the mom has to hold up the whole weight of the family while being everything.
No, it's a really good, really great portrayal of how impossible it is to be a woman at literally any age. Like, you're just set up for failure, and none of the rules actually make any fucking sense because they're all contradictory. And, like, you're supposed to have this like rallying cry of womanhood, but then like there can only be two women in the club, so you have to kick all the other women to the side. There can't be all of us up there at the top because there's not enough space. And it's just so interesting. Cue Girl So Confusing by Charlie and Lord. Like,
Yeah. There are so many quotes in this movie that are so good and are so absolutely on the nose, like no holds barred. There's that one I was talking about earlier where she says, "Look, no one ever thinks chicks do stuff like this. Trust me, a girl can only be a slut, a bitch, a tease, or the virgin next door. We'll just coast on how the world works." But then there's also that earlier conversation after she fucked Jason in his car where she says, "It wasn't at all like I thought it would be. There was just all this squirming and squealing, and then he's done." And you're like, "Oh, just probably out there telling everyone what a freak I am." Bridget says, "We'll say the same thing about him." And Ginger says, "It doesn't work like that. I mean, he got laid. I'm just a lay. He's a hero, and I'm just a lay, a freak mutant lay."
You want to
Mhm.
know how you combat that? What I would always do? Because I had a lot of guys that said they slept with me when they didn't, and I never denied it. And I said, yeah, they were just really bad in bed. I was like, yeah, he's got a really small dick. Yeah.
Oh, he wants to say
Actually,
this about me? We can both spread rumors.
uh-huh.
Yeah,
I was like,
I
actually,
love to say
I was like,
words too.
it didn't really count. He only lasted like a minute and a half.
He barely even got it in. It was that small. Yeah. And then what
He
is he going
said
to do?
his
Go,
mom's
"Actually,
name
what
when
does
he
she know? I didn't
came.
even sleep with her." And then it's like, "Oh, you didn't? That's so
Uh-huh.
funny because you said you did."
Yep.
That's
Oh,
so fucked up, Sid. Oh my god.
college was a really fun time for me, you know?
Love it. So fun and fancy free.
These men are forgetting that that was just a sexy little dream that they had and that they wish they could and they could never.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's such a messy portrayal, but not messy in the writing or anything like that. It's very
Human.
beautifully done and showing the humanity of womanhood and just like the agony. The agony.
It all
Physically,
comes back
literally.
to eggs.
Once again.
Oh, yeah, I mean specifically in this because it's a period story. It's a
Because
period.
she's
It's a
ovulating in
period
that
piece
scene.
in a different way.
Yeah, when you brought up when we talked about My Animal a little earlier, and then you were like, obviously
Mm.
this movie came in part from that. Sorry, My Animal came in part because of Ginger Snaps. As soon as we were talking about the menarche part about it again, I was like, oh yeah, literally they did the exact same thing with like the period being the onset of werewolfism. Obviously a little different because in that movie she has the curse genetically, and then in this movie, it's just a little
But
coinky
it's
dink that she gets her period on the same day she's mauled by a werewolf. But
yeah,
it's
no,
so
I
interesting
even
to
brought
intertwine
up
them.
Ginger Snaps on that episode and spoiled that we were gonna do this next month on that episode. But I hadn't seen it yet. I just knew that this was about the confluence of
Ah, yes.
period
The
and
confluence.
My favorite word.
werewolfism.
Two rivers.
Two rivers, both violent.
Well, that's another one of my notes is becoming a woman is equated with becoming a violent man-eating monster, which is also such an interesting view of society's take on womanhood, especially in light of like, you know, the other thing about women that this movie doesn't get into as much or really it just that's not part of the thing, but like god forbid a woman ever be honest and truthful about a man treating her horribly and all of a sudden it's like she's trying to bring a good man down. And I maybe did the same thing defending Sam. I don't know, I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Hmm.
We all learn and we all grow, and we all sometimes have to put a spotlight on our own lines of thought and go, what did I mean by that?
No, I mean it's so interesting because like being a woman is not being perfect, even though like in media, not all the time. Obviously, this is a piece of media, this movie, but like in the average media, we're shown as these gorgeous, beautiful Grecian goddesses or whatever, whatever. Much to the chagrin of real women everywhere who don't look like that and then feel bad. But we're very it's a messy road. There's so many things that we're taught at a young age
You have to
that
uphold the
we are
standards, but God forbid you
specifically
try to uphold the standards.
Right.
well, no, yeah, but like what I specifically meant is like you're specifically taught things that you think you're doing the right thing, but you're actually like tearing down others, and it's terrible. And it's so interesting to like live and grow and learn about feminism and its many forms, and learn from your mistakes and stuff like that. And it's too bad that we can't get that experience for Ginger in this movie because it's not how it shaked out. But there are 2 more movies. Did you know?
I know.
did.
I was like, I do wonder,
Yeah.
like, how
One's
they.
a sequel
know.
and one is a prequel. The third one's a prequel that's like set in like pioneer times.
Oh, good. Does it have
And
the
it,
same
like,
cast?
I don't
same-
think so.
I'm
The
looking it
second
up.
one has the 2 main girls back.
Yeah. So I'm
But
like,
the
what's
third
deal
one is
there?
like, and they filmed them at the same time. So I don't know.
That's so Fear Street 1666.
Yeah, they came out in 2004. Yeah, no, they're both in both of them. Ginger Snaps 2, Unleashed, Slay.
Slay.
Love it. Sounds 47-meter disc down.
Uncaged.
Uncaged. That is still to this day my favorite sequel.
What an incredible title.
Ginger Snaps Back, The Beginning. That
Oh,
is
that's a
what
great
the
one
movie is
too.
called. And it's also
I
them.
Want
Set in
to
the
write an
19th century
essay.
Canada.
The name
Oh my
of this
God.
movie, Ginger Snaps, I was literally thinking about it earlier this morning. I think it's so brilliant. First of all,
It's
Ginger
so
Snaps is
good.
a cookie, so it's a very recognizable thing that's gonna stick with you. But also, it's like Ginger Snaps, Ginger's gone crazy. Ginger Snaps, she bares her teeth at you and then clenches them down. Ginger, I don't know, like it's so brilliant to me. I
Also,
love it.
just back to the cookie things, ginger snaps themselves are sugary sweet, but they also have a bite to them because of the ginger.
They're spicy.
So, they got a little spice, just like our girl Ginger does, because she's a bitchy werewolf, and I love that about her.
I love that
Also-
she just happened to be a redhead though, and her name's Ginger, you know?
Maybe she came out with red hair.
I came out with red hair. It did not
I came out with
last.
red hair. Yeah, mine fell out.
Like, it did not last. It immediately went white.
They were lucky. They're like, oh, she's a ginger. Let's call her Ginger, make her life hard, and it might not even stick. And then it did, and it actually was a very hot, cool choice.
Her
love the
name
name
is
Ginger.
Ginger Ann, and so I do wonder if her mom is a fan of
That's terrible.
Gilligan's Island.
Mm.
She said, I love both
Mm.
Marianne and Ginger. How could I possibly decide?
Poor Kayla Nostos.
Let's call her Ginger Ann and be done with it. I don't know. I think one thing that I thought was really cool also is like when they're trying to, I liked the werewolf lore in general.
Yeah.
That they're,
Oh.
I love that they tried to pierce her belly button and presumably it
Oh,
was like
silver.
healing
that
as they
made
were
me
trying
want
to
to die.
pierce it, and that's why it got stuck, and they're really fucking trying to jam it through. And then she uses, I don't know, what was it, like an eyebrow ring or something that Sam had?
Yeah.
Horrifying. Loved that it didn't work and purify and cure the virus or whatever, but like it's such an interesting detail to try. And then they stumble on the monk should thing, and they're like, oh, but that's in season in spring and it's October now, and what do we do? And then it's like, mommy has dried monk should from the craft
She's
store.
gotten craft
Love
store.
that. Back to the silver thing though for a second. They're like, okay, we got to do something with silver because it's a werewolf story. Okay,
Mhm.
but how do we make it super fucking cunty? Belly button ring.
Belly
Super
button
fucking cunty
ring.
and super fucking Y2K. Belly button
Yeah,
ring.
I wanted a belly button ring
Iconic.
so bad in the early aughts.
Me and my mom got our belly buttons pierced together when I was 15.
Iconic,
That
I fear.
is so iconic. I
And we
feel
didn't
like
tell my daddy. And then one day
No,
I
it's
was
not his
sleeping.
business.
I was sleeping on the couch and I like moved and my shirt went up and he went, "What's that?" It was a horrible way to be woken up from a nap. I'm just saying.
Oh
I have
my god.
someone I knew that went to high school with us actually pierced their belly button on like a school trip when we were given free time. And then when she didn't tell her parents when she came home, but then one day she was like lying down in bed and her mom like saw the outline of the jewelry through her shirt or something like that and came over and like lifted her shirt, looked at her belly button, put her shirt back down, cried, left the room. They didn't speak about it.
I think that a belly button ring and a nipple piercing make you so fucking cool. Like, sorry if I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. No, the Kool-Aid's right. The Kool-Aid is true in this one sense. And that's why in this essay, I will argue why no one should get mad at me when I go get my nipples pierced, hopefully this year. There's no one left to get mad at me. That's the one thing.
As somebody with both and who is cool, do it.
It confirmed. Yeah, confirmed
It
that
is
is the source
cool.
of Sydney's power.
I feel like also,
I
by
miss
the
my
way,
tongue ring though. Part of me was like, do I get it pierced for a third time?
oh, that fucks up your teeth so bad. That's the only thing with that one.
I can get fake ones.
Oh my
She'll
God.
get
Don't get
veneers. Hello.
I gotta say that ever since I got this fucking tooth gem, I feel like I'm one step away from a nipple piercing at any given moment. People go fucking
You
crazy
can have it
for
any
it.
day now.
Mm-hmm. It gives me this kind of je ne sais quoi, you know? They're like,
I
what's
just want to
that
be
in
there
your
when
mouth?
you get your nipple pierced. You go to the same person that I got my nipple pierced from.
Okay.
He's got his own shop in Studio City now.
Oh my god. Aw.
Adam should also get one of his nipples pierced as well.
Ooh.
Make it a family event, you know?
Should they get the same so that when they're facing each other, the piercings touch, or should they get opposite so that they can
opposite so they don't get caught?
Yeah.
That's like my worst nightmare. Oh my God. I'm scared. Anyway.
Okay, other details that I loved. When they're eating dinner and Ginger says, "I wish these were baby legs."
And
I
they're
loved
eating chicken wings.
So good.
I loved that. I thought that was fantastic. Oh, other thoughts. Bridget is giving me Rory Culkin in Scream 4. But she's also giving Isabella Johnny in Possession a lot of the time.
Yeah.
With her like dark wild hair and her really intense blue eyes. And there's like at least one scene where she's lit in an interesting way where I was like, there's no way that they were in some capacity referencing possession here. And also like she's feeding the beast, she's caring for the beast, she's losing herself in the process. I felt that was possession address. Oh, the blood and milk also too.
Yes.
Because IMDb trivia was like, this movie did Blood and Milk before May, which came out 2 years later, which is so interesting because Angela Bettis, who played May in May, was also Carrie in the 2002 TV movie of Carrie, which Katharine Isabelle was in.
The connections are connectioning.
The connections are connectioning. But when they said the blood and milk, I was like, oh, that's going on my possession list. That's another bullet point on there. So
you know I love a possession reference. Hell yeah.
You know I love a blood and milk.
Specifically to that scene too, it's one of my favorites when she like is saying to her dad, "It's corn syrup, Dad. Do you want to try it?" Just the look on her face is so iconic and so unhinged in that moment.
I have a question about literally everybody. How did they not notice like her teeth were
I know. Nobody ever commented on her fangs.
Right?
Like probably were like, those were there. Is wearing fangs around. That's classic chick.
Honestly, they set the scene for who they are as people where you're not going to be surprised that they're dressing. They're already a whimsigoth, so they throw some fangs in there. It makes sense.
Okay, the corn syrup though, very Billy in Scream, of course. But it's so interesting because I also, with Jason, got so many vibes of Skeet Ulrich's character in The Craft. And him being like, this douchey guy who just is after her to fuck. And let me look at my notes to see what else I had mentioned. The douche guy and his two lackey friends. And this like weird desire for like male desire or male acceptance, girl monster, outcast, hallway strut, suicide. Those were also all bullet points under there.
But back to the idea you had of Ginger giving Jason her period or his period. It's so right because he also bleeds through his pants and he's like, my red pen exploded all over my pants. And I was like, just like me when I was
There,
like, I
Jason,
dropped
yeah.
a meatball on my skirt at the Italian restaurant. That's what it was. A meatball fell
no.
upon my skirt. Isn't that a brilliant excuse? Everyone believed it.
It's a great
Whoa.
excuse, Monica.
Pretty
Oh my
smart
God.
for a 14-year-old, just
Pretty
saying.
smart. Yeah, when she's like dripping blood in the bathroom, that's also obviously a Carrie reference. But when she's dripping blood in the bathroom and then they go to the nurse and they're like, "Oh my God, it was a geyser. It was crazy." I was so like, okay, is she bleeding through a tampon that she should not be bleeding through, or do these girls? It's just the first period that either of them have ever had, and they don't know anything yet. And so
I don't
this
think she
just
knows
this
anything.
just happens before you really learn your own flow and how to manage it.
Ugh,
It's like I
and
think that's
sometimes
just
you're
normal.
just not
Bleeding in
paying
the
attention and it
autumn
just
rain.
happens.
Sometimes it just
Isn't
gets
it
away from you.
romantic? I quoted Charlie again. Actually,
But
that was Caroline Polachek. Free bleeding in the autumn rain, fall in love again and again. It's my favorite line of that song.
when he I okay, this is now I'm being mean to men.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
I don't have a solution to offer for them. But yes, he's leaking through his pants because he had his period, and as a woman, I am sympathetic. But also, he is getting little blood spots on his pants because he's peeing blood, and because he's getting pee spots on his pants. And it's like, why
Men should sit down to pee.
men should sit down? I know I have seen men say, I have tried sitting down and I have tried wiping my dick with toilet paper after I've peed, and then somehow there just is always a one little drop left in the chamber after you pull your pants up. So maybe there's really nothing to be done. But I would say if this was happening to a girl all
Doesn't
of the
the
time,
underwear
people would tell
take
her to
care of
wear a
that?
panty liner.
But also, we pee and we wipe and also don't have this issue. So, do men not know how to wipe?
I don't
also?
know what's going on with them.
Men
but
clearly don't know how to
if
wipe
you're
because they
getting
still
a
to this
lot
day
of
get skid
pee
marks.
spots,
So
you need to be figuring something out.
Wouldn't the underwear absorb that one little drop? Why
I
does
don't
it get
think
on your
that they're,
outside of
I
your
mean, I guess it
pants?
depends. Boxers versus briefs, now we're getting into the materials, but a lot of them don't seem that absorbent because they're not expecting men to be having juices down there the way that some of us do.
My question that I have always had and will always have for the rest of my life until someone answers it, in which case
Yep.
I don't actually want you guys to tell me this,
Okay.
listeners, but why boxers ever? Don't you want to be held? I would feel so scared of my business flopping
Right.
all around all the time, and
I
so
do
that's just a
feel-
question I've always had.
This is related to people who are like, oh, I sleep completely naked. I don't want to, that makes me feel too exposed. I like to have a little undie on
Oh.
at least.
I
In
Winnie
my
the
bed,
Pooh it.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah, you
I Winnie the
can, but
Pooh
I
it.
feel
Big
more
comfy
secure.
t-shirt. No, it's got to breathe a little bit. So like I wear a t-shirt, no panties to bed all the time, unless
All
it's
right.
period time of the month, and then you need an
Different
extra
strokes for
layer.
different folks.
Well, here's my question: that the reason that the moving around, flopping around thing it
Mhm.
worries me is because you are walking around. It's like the fact that you're in motion, walking around doing things.
And
That's
it's
what
like,
scares me about it. If you're gonna just be naked in your bed, then you're safe. You're in your bed. You're fine, unless something horrible happens.
this
But yeah,
is, he's going
exactly.
down the stairs right now.
Yeah. He's
This sound
doing a
feels
little jig.
uncomfortable.
You know?
It's like when I don't
He's
wear a
doing jumping
bra and I
jacks.
run. It feels bad when I don't wear a bra and I run. So it seems like a similar thing to me. I don't know. I don't know
also,
if I
it depends
want.
on the temperature. Because if it's like really hot, they're hanging low. But I guess if it's cold, they get closer to the body.
I don't
We
want our
need-
listeners to weigh in. Actually, I don't want to
tell
talk to you guys
us.
about this, but I do want to know this.
We are
So,
curious.
We need
but
to
don't tell
talk
me.
about Ginger taping down her tail because
Yes!
I kept going,
Oh.
why doesn't she just tuck it? And then I was like, tucking tutorials were probably not abundantly accessible. These were kind of in the pre-internet tucking tutorial days.
YouTube wasn't
Yeah.
a
Just
thing.
taping it to her leg.
Oh, her tail was so
love the
creepy.
tail.
A little
I
bit.
love-
I love the tail reveal, and it's just like
I love that,
got some
like,
smush on my.
they made the tail look hot too, like coming out of
When
her
she's
underwear
sitting in
and
the
stuff. I was
bathroom
like,
with her tail, I was like, she looks really cute right now.
I know her tail's so cute. But yeah, we talked about this a little bit, but how, we're switching it up. We're doing another different type of werewolf this month where like it's a slow progression into a monster, and I imagine that you just like stay a wolf.
Are that, yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
that naked wolf in perpetuity, which is so interesting. But I love when a movie does a fun little like foreshadowing thing too, because they have that one science class, the biology class, where they're watching a video and it's about how like a virus progresses and how like once it enters your body it progresses and it destroys more and more and more until the damage is irreparable and the person is lost or something like that. That's not the direct quote, but I was like, oh, okay. This time around, watching it the second time, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here. You're doing a film thing. Good
It
job.
was really interesting, the setup and the way that they constructed this movie and a lot of things, because I also, when I was on my second watch, like opening up with the mom and the son, I thought was a really interesting way to do it, because then you circle back to like the family aspects of it at the end. Just to
Mhm.
start with like a mom who can't protect her child, and like there's a beast about, and I don't know, I thought it was very
And the little
interesting.
boy gets blood in his mouth, and Ginger gets
Mm-hmm.
blood in her mouth.
It is ultimately a sister film, so I didn't think that it was wrong that it ended with just the sisters as like the final shot, but I did want the mom to like come back around in some capacity, because I loved the mom, and she just got ditched at the party, and I wanted her to like have some connection to this
Yeah.
finality. But it was not to be, because that would distract from the Bridget and Ginger of it all, which really is the star of the show.
Yeah. The end of this movie is so fucking agonizing, and it also goes on for so long. Not a criticism, but like it's really just like such a long like cat and mouse game or wolf and sister game, however you want to say it. But specifically Sam's death I found to be like so upsetting. I liked him. I'm sorry I did. I maybe he's a cherry chaser and I'm sorry.
Cherry
But
Hound.
like
think
his
that
like
Trina was done dirty, and also Trina's not the authority on him and his character as a whole.
totally,
It
because
can
he
be
definitely
both.
has some redeeming qualities. He's putting his life on the line at this point to help save Bridget and help save his her sister. Um but yeah, like just the growth, like the violence of him getting pulled out of that pantry and smashed against the wall, and then he's still alive, and that like
There's so much
hyperventilating
blood leading that trail.
breathing. Yeah, I mean, he's lost so much blood, and then that hyperventilating breathing that he's doing down in the basement, like
Mhm.
oh my god, it's very unsettling. I was just so upsetting, and I still thought maybe he'd be okay, and then
And then he's
Ginger ate
not.
out his throat,
Yeah.
so wasn't gonna go that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so sad that it had to end the way that it did, where like Ginger has that Bridget has to be the one to kill her sister when she was trying, even when
To have
it
them
had
both
gotten
in
to
her
this point.
hand.
Yeah, and it could have gone
Mhm.
either way. Either thing could have fallen into Ginger in that struggle, but she had to kill her. And then at least she has the antidote, not anecdote, Jesus fuck, antidote for herself. But I don't
Anecdotally,
think
she knows
she's
that this antidote has worked
anecdotally
one time at
she has an
least.
antidote. Anyway, but she has it for herself. You think maybe she would use it, but I think maybe she is a werewolf in the sequel. So I don't know. We're
Well,
left
because
not
she cuts
knowing
her
in this
hand
movie.
and
Yeah, they did
infects
that.
herself with.
No, it's just
But
that part is so insane too, where she's like, "I will become
I
you
am
for
you.
you
Yeah,
to
let me find that
trust
quote.
me." Yeah, she's like, "I like."
You
She
wrecked
has to.
everything for me that isn't about you. Now I am you.
Which is
Fuck.
wild.
It's Dark. Okay, this
That's like
brings
the
me
crux of
to
it.
another one of my clear references. Monica, you're gonna love this one. It's Crimson Peak.
Okay.
Um,
I just watched that the other day.
Me
because
too.
domineering older sibling incest vibes. We belong together forever, just the two of us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whoa. Fuck. Damn. Whew.
I think I liked the we're basically not even related anymore scene because first of all it's fun, and second of all it's gay, and third of all I think that whole scene in general just is really showing you um again, kind of how we said Ginger is losing herself. She's not really Ginger anymore. Before she attacked dogs and she said she just couldn't help herself and she cried about it and she threw up when she got home. Um, and then the first person, like Trina, like she's attacking Trina, but she's not, we don't know what she would have done necessarily. Trina slips and falls and hits her head and dies. Um,
Yeah.
she does attack the guidance counselor because he was going to tell, but we don't see it happen. So we don't, maybe in the deleted scene, but in the final
Yeah, they had
product,
it.
we don't see it happen. So we don't know exactly how it played out. It's easy to imagine. We've seen this guy is such a piece of shit. It's like the teacher from Disturbia, right? Am I saying the right
Yeah.
movie? Yeah,
Yes,
it's like
yes,
they
yes,
brought
yes,
in this
yes. The
art
Spanish teacher.
project. It is absolutely fucking morbid and dark, and I can understand why a teacher would be disturbed by it, but it seems like this is maybe a photography class. And to be like, you guys are little freaks and I hate you and I am gonna kill you for doing this. And like the way he like is so fired up and is like, we're going to the guidance counselor room. Like he is like clearly a bitch. And a bitch to them specifically, and like has beef with them specifically. And so when you don't see what happens between Ginger and him behind the closed door that ends up with him dead, it's easy that you can sort of imagine that maybe it was justified, or in the moment she felt like she didn't have any other choice. And then the janitor comes around, and at that point you know that she is just, that scene is so brutal to show you, I think, that she is like playing with her food and having fun and doesn't care and is losing her moral compass. And then you sprinkle in the incest on top of it just to show you that like she doesn't care and she's a monster now. So
Yeah. No, I think it does work in that way to be like, oh, she's like left behind the reality of them as sisters even, and she's just this like carnal beast. Yeah.
what she says in
Oof.
that scene about causing pain, she says, it feels so good, Bridget. It's like touching yourself. You know every move, right on the fucking dot. And after, you see fucking fireworks, supernovas. I'm a goddamn force of nature. I feel like I could do just about anything. You know, we're almost not even related anymore. Like, it's like literally point A
Yeah.
to point B. I
I
am
could do
having fun
anything
causing pain and I feel powerful. And now that leads me back to exhibiting my power over you, which I have done throughout the course of the movie. And here's like even one step further that I could maybe go. And Bridget says, you're fucked. And Ginger says, you'd love it. Should come for a ride, a little scratch, swap some juice. We'll be our own pack like before. It's so us-y. The swap some juice, I think that line is especially gay.
That is.
But
Yeah, that is explicitly gay.
that is you know the juice they're talking about. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my god. We were kind of discussing the end now, right? We're good with
we're
it.
yeah.
We've
Yeah.
already been doing it. I love like in that moment after B stabs Ginger and Ginger is slowly dying, that it pans around to like all of their photos together. I just thought that was, they really know how to make me want to die. So thanks, filmmakers. That was brutal. And
Did you notice they had a picture of
how the
Agtha
movie
on the wall?
Not Agda.
A little drawing of Agtha.
but I think that the ending is all the more effective and jarring because this is such a fun-filled movie and there's so much fun slang and whatever and great jokes and all this fun stuff going on, and then the ending is just a fucking gut punch. It is just no hope, nothing to look forward to, and it ends on quote to the subtitles, somber music plays. Like it's just there's nothing but sadness left for you at the end. And so I think that they really like have all of this momentum going and they just slow it down to a stop, and you're just kind of left reeling at the end of it cuz even though it's so obvious that these two sisters have a fucked up relationship, they still obviously cared about each other and loved each other so much. So it's just so sad to see it end in like utter irreparable tragedy when it felt like for a minute there it was so close to them finding a resolution and that
Yeah.
maybe things could go back to normal, but they can't.
Yeah. It's really sad. Although I just think their room is so crazy in general. Why does it look
I
like they
know.
have side by side beds in the mental institution? Why is that the way
Well,
that
I
they've
think that's
decorated it? I mean, I think it speaks for
that's a
itself, actually.
choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Chelsea,
they did
that's a
that.
dumb question.
Why did I ask
Actually,
that? Yeah.
why did you ask that?
The lights they have are very mental institution. The little like
Their
long
bed
skinny.
frames. I believe 100% that there were two normal bedrooms for these girls upstairs, but they said, no, we're bunking together in the basement. That's what we want. We're goth. This is the way we choose to live our lives. And their mom went, okay, you girls have fun down there.
Whatever you want,
Okay.
sweeties.
So crazy.
Well, are we ready to move on to our segments?
Segmentos.
Yes, I have thoughts.
All right. How could this movie be gayer? I have an idea. I think that the mom is definitely gay. And that is part of the reason why she fucking can't stand her husband at all, because she is not being fulfilled in her current arrangement. And I can imagine her having a great time, just us girls in the future, after much grief from
Maybe
the loss
only
of her
ever
daughter
girls
Ginger.
going forward.
Only ever
Just us girls, and if we had to introduce new people, maybe they were also girls. I don't. I'm just spitballing here.
I'm just throwing some ideas around,
Just
and I was
thinking
thinking
it through.
maybe only
Could be fun.
girls going forward. What do you think? The
I'm very
daughters would
open
be
to
into
that.
that. They definitely have some queer vibes themselves. So,
Okay, well, they've got gender stuff going on for sure with their like, I'm not a girl, don't call me a girl. This is for
yeah,
girls and that's not me, blah blah blah. I do think again it is kind of the thing where it's like, if you could be a girl without all of the societal baggage that comes with being perceived as a girl, they would probably not have an issue with their gender.
Mhm.
But as is, it is a huge source of discomfort. And again, I think a lot of that is sort of like the prepubescent aspect of it, where it's like this is a scary thing that hasn't happened to you yet, and so you're kind of like, I'm never gonna get my period. I'm gonna stay a tomboy forever, and I don't want my body to ever change because that's scary, and like blah blah blah. Like,
Puberty is body dysmorphia for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And also that line in the nurse's office was funny when she was like, hair places that there hasn't been before, and she is like, yup, that's normal. I thought that was a funny little joke.
Bush Brigade, let's go.
Whoop, whoop.
But there's so much going on with them where you can read in with gender for sure, and also just sexuality wise. It's interesting because obviously Ginger is getting gay towards Bridget, but Bridget says, are you going to eat Trina? And she goes, would I eat her? No, that would be like fucking her. I'm not going to do that. And obviously Trina is enemy, but it's so interesting where it's like, ew, Trina, but my sister Bridget. So that is something there. Also, this is both like werewolf lore because Ginger eats a dog and then she's puking it up into the toilet. That's where she has the blood mouth that I have on my face right now. But also So it's like you eat the blood, you puke. That is like normal. But if eating someone is like fucking them, and then Bridget like is licking Sam's blood and eating Sam's blood, and then going blah, and she doesn't like it, and she spits it back out, and she pukes a little. That's kind of gay. Um, the gay incest vibes obviously are there between the two of them. But Ginger seducing Sam because she thinks he wants to fuck Bridget and she thinks Bridget wants to fuck him. So now she's like fucking she's like taking her sister's place in this, and she's like fucking the person who her sister wants to fuck, who wants to fuck her sister. So that is tying back into like the gay incest vibes. It's very Freudian.
Mm-hmm. Oof. This movie really goes there. I wasn't expecting it
They're
necessarily
not afraid.
to go there. But they,
I
yeah.
think Bridget could be a non-binary lesbian potentially. But I'm
I
also
could see
open to
that
all
for
kinds
sure.
of breeds for Bridget.
I could totally see that for Bridget, 100%. Any other gay thoughts you'd like to share?
So many more gay thoughts.
Okay, Matthew Lillard, where do we place our beautiful boy? I don't want him to be the shitty teacher, but he could be. He's good at playing an asshole. I
He
would
could
have
be
loved him
Sam.
being like uncomfortable trying to parse what to do with this very horrific suicide oriented photo essay that they brought in. I think that'd be really funny. No, yeah, he would be a great Sam. It's only
Be a fun
2000.
Jason.
He can't be this kid, but I'm just giving this kid a shout out because I just remembered him and I love him. I love the little hockey kid who's Norman is his dog.
Yeah.
And he's like dangling him on the hockey stick at one point, and then he comes out to feed Norman and he cries. I love that kid.
Screams and the whole
Matthew
town
Lillard
can hear it.
could never play him. That kid is an icon. But Matthew Lillard is also an icon.
Yeah, there's just some roles he shouldn't touch, and that kid is
There's
one
some
of them. You know,
casting choices that are perfect already.
Oh, shouts out to that little boy who was the dog, by the way, who Jason was trying to eat. I thought that was
Yeah.
really
was
fucking
so
funny.
Funny and cute.
I also didn't realize that
Graduating
this
from
turns
dogs
into
to
a
kids in
Halloween
dogs
movie.
costumes.
So I love that it turns into a Halloween movie, and I love the decorations for the greenhouse
and mommy's little
for
pumpkin
the Halloween party.
earrings.
Yes, and there's a whole deleted scene where she's like decorating the house for Halloween, which is cute. And there's also like a lot more little dog boy content in the deleted scenes. Like I'm literally looking at his face right now because that's where I
He's so
paused the deleted
cute.
scene. So too bad for
That
him. He
scene was
didn't get
crazy.
more shine, but that scene was
That
fucking
scene was
crazy.
crazy.
So
I loved that she tried the antidote out on him first, though. I was like, actually, she very smart in theory. He's a great person to test it out on if you don't know if it's gonna kill someone or cure them.
yeah, seriously, it's really smart.
He's trying to eat a little kid, so he either needs to be put down or fixed, but either
Yeah,
one
and
will
she's
work
got no
right
skin
now.
in that game. Yeah, she doesn't care if he lives or dies. I would like Matthew Lillard as Sam. I would really like him, though I adore this man who plays him, who I forgot his name immediately. Chris Lemch. There you go.
Yeah, there's not a lot of other male role. I mean, like he could play the dad, but the dad doesn't do anything, so
No,
it would be
he
kind of
doesn't play the
a
dad.
waste of
Be a
Matthew
waste.
Lillard.
Honestly,
It'd
I
be
think
a
it would be
waste.
really funny. He's just
It
like,
would be pretty funny.
he says no words. He's just like, mm.
He says that one thing when the mom is like, "Oh, why does my daughter want to date a dummy? I'm so glad I saved this book." And he's like, "I think they're up to something." And she's like, "They're just being normal teenage girls." And he says, "Then why are they suddenly so interested in what you have to say?" Which I thought was an incredible burn, and also shut up.
I was dead when they were like, "Oh, we need time to cover this shit up." Mom, what do men want? And it turns
Right.
into like an hour and a half
Don't
long
look in the
lecture.
freezer. What? It's a
Mom,
milk and
what
cookies
do
date
men
to talk
want?
about what boys want.
Mm-hmm.
She gets out the snacks.
So fucking funny. Absolutely hilarious. Okay, are we ready for Dumb Bitch? Dumb Bitch
Yes.
is- I love Ginger, but she's being an abusive person. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's hard to say that she's a dumb bitch because she's a 15-year-old girl. And
Yeah.
I feel that
Doesn't
if
feel
given
fair.
the opportunity, she could learn and grow a lot. I do think she and her sister, partially by Ginger's design, are a little in their bubble too much for her to be doing that anytime soon. They'd have to like, I don't know, go off to different colleges or something. And I don't know
Yeah.
that they would make that choice.
That choice, yeah.
I think
It
the
needs to be
original
done.
werewolf is the dumb bitch.
That's a good one. Fuck that bitch. How dare
We
they?
don't know what his deal is.
He's
I have
already
to
having a
assume
bad
he's a dumb bitch. Yeah.
They started this and they were killing all them dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there you go. That seems like a safe choice. Someone comes forward. If we watch the prequel from the 19th century and it somehow tells us it was a very nice person who was that werewolf.
Right.
Well, I don't have that
we don't know
information
yet.
So
So,
until then,
You could say
This
the
is it.
guidance counselor is a dumb
Oh!
bitch because
Oh,
that was, I
yeah.
think, a very well executed photography project. And I think it had some really interesting societal commentary that he wasn't prepared to engage with. And he was not doing a good job as both the guidance counselor or as the photography teacher.
Dumb bitch. There you go. Easy. That or the werewolf, but probably him.
yeah.
Just in case I was a real nice guy in there. Anyway, that brings us to our knives out of fives. So, Chelsea, set the scene.
So we touched on this a little bit. Was this movie, did it get a theatrical release or not? I think
Oh, I didn't Google it. I'll do it right now.
yes, but I think it was, I mean, it was, I know for sure yes, because it was a box office flop. So it really didn't do well in that regard, but it did really, really well with VHS and DVD sales. And that was really when it became a cult classic. It did well internationally. I remember seeing that on IMDb. It did well. It had major success internationally in the UK and Australia, but it struggled to get noticed in the USA until HBO began airing it in the early 2000s, which is when it started to take off with North American horror fans, is what it says. But so it has really gained status and acclaim over the years. And I would say the numbers represent that. I don't know if these numbers are at all representative of what they were initially when this movie came out. On Rotten Tomatoes, this movie has 90% fresh from critics. It has 78% fresh from audiences, which is a little bit less. And on IMDb, it has a 6.8 out of 10. But that 90% fresh from critics, I think, says a lot about this movie.
Yeah.
And like we've said, it is so clearly influential to horror that came afterwards, influenced by the horror that came beforehand. It clearly has a lot to say about gender roles and gender expectations and norms and the societal pressures. So I absolutely understand why 90% of critics were like, there's something here. There's something in the front here. Because this movie has a ton going for it.
It really does. Who wants to go first?
I can. This movie gives me everything that I want. These girls are so whack. There's a suicide pact, which I love. I love to see myself represented in media, you know?
It's so important.
It's so really important. Everybody thinks I'm so weird for having a suicide pact, and
You're so quirky.
I think they're wrong. Let girls be girls. So this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I honestly can't believe I haven't seen this. I think if I would have seen this as a teenager, it would have changed the trajectory of my life.
I feel the exact same way. I'm also going to give this a 5 out of 5 because it's just a masterpiece. Like, it's a complicated messy depiction of being a complicated, messy thing, which is womanhood, man. It's crazy out here. It's wild. Not necessarily always this violent, but sometimes you don't know. There's blood, there's sweat, there's tears. It's crazy. But I love this. I love this. I mean, like Chelsea was just saying, like we've been saying the whole episode, like this is such an influential movie. It's so cool to see things that I love, that have loved for years, like where they came from. By watching this, it feels like a puzzle piece has like fallen into place and everything. The world just makes more sense now. Wow, do you feel that? But like I'll stick with what I said before. Like this is your favorite horror movie's favorite horror movie. This is the Chapel Roan of horror movies, and Chapel Roan's my favorite artist. So of course I loved Ginger Snaps. So that's all I got.
I'm very happy to hop on the 5 Knives Out of Fives bandwagon. I have been exposed to this movie a lot over the years. Like I was very familiar with the fact that it existed and what its general vibes were, and that it and Jennifer's body were like covering a lot of the same territory and holding hands and were best friends. There's a lot of it that I had seen, and I knew that it like engaged in themes of like womanhood and femininity and like monstrous girl, blah blah blah. I didn't really recognize her game like that until I watched it for myself. The fact that I was over here feeling immediately like I had to start like writing feminist theory notes, I think is really an interesting takeaway from this film. I love art. I mean, all art is reflective of human experience. And there is something to be found in all art, whether or not the creators intended to put something in there. There's just no way to create without reflecting the world around you, for better or for worse. But to have a movie like this that is so intentionally engaging in those conversations and is so willing to explore those themes and like invite young people to engage in those themes with them, while also being like, we're having fun and we're being spooky and we're not afraid to get weird. And like I feel like it's the audience of today, we talk about so often wanting moral purity from their characters, and that's the way that they engage in like learning lessons from media, is by like characters being role models. And I'm sure there are valid ways to do that. And I think to allow your characters to be messy and villainous can be a fantastic way to do that as well. Like we can see how destructive these forces are because they literally destroy Ginger, because they destroy Jennifer and Jennifer's body, without Jennifer and Ginger having to be, it goes to kind of like the perfect victim
Yeah.
discussion of like sexual assault, and like something bad happens to a woman, it's like, what did she do to bring it on herself? Like Ginger can be terrible, she can be an aggressor, she can be an abuser, she can belittle people around her and other women, and she can also be a victim of all of these things. And we can see for ourselves the way that we would live in a completely different world if we could like eradicate that. I don't know, I just think it's a very smart, well-written movie, well performed. I thought it was fun. I liked that there was gay incest. 5 Knives Out of Fives.
The gay
Just-
incest is gonna get Chelsea every single time.
What can I say?
Before we move on to next week, I just want to touch on one of the things you said because I just think it's interesting. I totally understand like that desire to have some sort of character that's like morally perfect because there's no one left to look up to. You know what I mean? Every episode you see me finding out that someone I liked is bad. This is happening every single episode. But exactly that's the reason why there shouldn't be some sort of perfection on screen, because you're never going to find that perfection in real life. Every single human is flawed. And so that like you're going to make a mistake. Everyone's going to make a mistake,
The
you know.
benchmark can't be perfect.
No, because you'll never reach it and you'll just be sad. That might make you feel safe to have that idea that exists, but it doesn't exist. And it's not bad. It's not bad. Being messy is part of the whole thing, the whole living thing. Anyway, Sorry, what you said resonated with me. But yeah, I fucking love this movie. I'm so glad we did this. This is such a bangering way to wrap up the werewolf portion of Werewolf versus Vampire seasonal depression event. I'm getting a little emotional that it's coming to an end here.
Aw.
Because I don't like being seasonally depressed. By the way, I've never thought I was seasonally depressed until the sun came out this week, and I felt like really
Oh
happy
my God.
and really
Driving
good.
home today, 5:30, still light out. I was like, whoa. Oh my God. This
I
feels
was like,
amazing.
I don't know what it is, but like I've just felt like really good for the last 5 days, and I was like, oh, maybe it's because the like 40-degree weather stopped. Like maybe that's it. I don't know. But anyway, I don't like being seasonally depressed, but I do really like werewolves and vampires, and they really have been a balm for my aching soul over one of the worst winters we've ever had as a human race. So I hope that they helped you too. I would say that that's not too big of an exaggeration. It's pretty bad out here right now. But don't worry, everyone. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's my birthday.
Thank God Monica's
Oh, I
birthday has
know.
come back around. Oh my
Thank
God,
God
what
I
would we
was
do without
born.
it?
And everything's gonna be okay now after that, right? Right?
Right?
Right? I think so. Anyway, when we came up with this concept, werewolf versus vampire seasonal depression event, I don't know if you guys knew this, but for me, I knew that it was my way to get this movie on the schedule. Because I saw this movie, I don't know, like 2 years ago, somewhere like that, some random movie I just put on. And I was like, if this ain't a Spooky Tuesday movie, I don't know what that means. Because this is just the level of silliness and camp and weird and crazy that we are always searching for. And that is the glorious film, Queen of the Damned. And I don't know what year it came out because I wasn't prepared actually. So I'll look
2002,
that up
I
right now.
think.
Yeah.
We're staying in the Y2K shit.
We're
Honestly,
staying in there lately. Don't
we
worry.
really
Episode after
are.
that, we're throwing it back.
Yeah, but here's the thing that there was really a werewolf vampire like renaissance
boom.
in the early
Mhm.
aughts. So what is a girl to do? Okay, we should have hit some of the more 90s ones. Like I'm so sad that Blade didn't make it onto this, but we can just do Blade anytime we want because it's our podcast and we can do whatever we want.
And we can be seasonally depressed again so soon. if we
Yeah, you
wanted
never
to
know.
be.
Any season can make you depressed.
It's
Yep.
too hot out. I'm depressed again. Yeah.
But have you guys seen Queen of the Damned?
The only thing I know about it is that you said when we did Interview with the Vampire that it is part of that larger lore.
It
know it's
stars
an
Lestat,
Anne-
bitch.
Yeah, I know it's an Anne Rice thing, and I definitely saw it when it came out and have not seen it since.
And it has Aaliyah.
It has
Yeah.
Aaliyah in it. Yeah, so celebrate the Queen Aaliyah. But yeah, it is about the vampire Lestat de Lioncourt. So
I think this is fun because he's having his pop star turn in the TV show soon, and I'm excited for that. So I feel like I'm doing my homework potentially by watching Queen of the Damned.
it's so 2002. Oh my god, I'm just so excited. I hope that it holds up to my memory of it. I remember being like, "What?" So hopefully we can all be like, "What?" together for my birthday.
Yay!
Yay!
But anyway, why not say something nice in a 5-star review to us? Maybe say, wow, seasonal depression who? Seasonal depression what? Damn, those werewolves and vampires really cured that for me. Thanks, Spooky Tuesday. In a
Welcome,
5-star
guys.
review.
Oh my god.
You're welcome. Oh my god, we're so happy to help you.
We live to
during those
serve,
trying times.
actually.
We really do.
And we've always said that about ourselves.
Uh-huh.
No, it's true. It's very true. But you could also just slap a 5-star rating on our Spotify. We're not picky if you're not feeling verbose today, but I did just write a really good review for you. So keep it in mind. And why not follow us on social media? We're at spooky_Tuesday on pretty much everything except for Facebook and Tumblr, where we are at Spooky Tuesday Pod. Also, I'm switching it up. Why not join us on Patreon? We're having a wonderful time over there. It's beautiful. We're all holding hands and singing Kumbaya, but like a horror version of it where it's not peaceful and it's very chaotic. But it's all love at the end of the day. So join us. It's really fun. We've got a lot of cool content coming out for you on the Patreon, and every day the Discord is slaying. So
Yeah. You don't want to miss those trailer reactions, right? You could hear our
yeah.
intimate thoughts on upcoming horror films.
I think
Come hang out with us.
Sometimes the trailer reactions is where we are the funniest because we are let loose completely from having to be smart at all. And so we just are wild and fancy free. So you could experience that only on our Patreon. And also, if you're trying to get to our Patreon and you're confused, you can go to our website, spookytuesdaypod.com, your one-stop shop for all the information about us. And also, we are on YouTube. Today, we have Chelsea as Ginger while she's barfing up a dog. I am Ginger when she's being cunty. And Sydney is the wolf at the beginning that gets
She's
hit by
Ginger
the car.
at the
End of the movie.
You see
Yes.
her bare arms? That's naked werewolf
That's
arm.
it. Yeah.
And
oh,
I can't
just-
show it on film, but there's 6 nipples down the front.
You
of
wouldn't
my
believe this, but
stomach.
she still has tits. That was a big takeaway for me. She had the multiple nipples, but also the front ones were still definitely titty ones. So very important.
Everybody had to know she was a
creature
lady
design.
werewolf.
I said it was the substance, when those extra boobs start popping out.
Things are getting real crazy.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's something you can only see on our YouTube. So please go subscribe. And at the end of the day, I have to say thank you so much for listening, Spookies. What do I say after that? Oh yeah, see you next Tuesday. I bit my tongue literally right at that moment with my fang, and I was in so much
Yeah.
pain I forgot
Yeah.
how to speak. See you next Tuesday.
What's going
We'll
on?
probably have the fangs on again.
Bye, spookies.
Spooky Tuesday was created by Monica Height, Sydney Thompson, and Chelsea Duff, and edited by Sydney Thompson. Our gorgeously spooky tunes are all thanks to Tamara Simons, who you can follow on Instagram at Great18. That's GR818_. And our podcast art is by Ryan Brom, who you can follow on Instagram at Ryan Brom Art. That's RyanBrommArt. Learn more about Spooky Tuesday at spookytuesdaypod.com and subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/spooky_Tuesday.